Hello viewers, welcome back to Network of YouTube channel. So in today's video, we are going to learn about the dynamic NAT process. So as you remember in the last video, we have learned about the static NAT. So we are learning about the second type of NAT, that is the dynamic NAT. So if you are new to my channel, please subscribe to it and don't forget to click on the bell icon to never miss an update from our channel. So let's get into the today's video. So what is a dynamic NAT? So in the dynamic NAT process, an unregistered private IP address is translated into a registered public IP address from a pool of public IP addresses. As you remember in our previous video about the static NAT, we were using the NAT process, but the thing was if there are n number of PCs with a private IP, we need to assign and configure them with a public IP address with n number of public IP address. If there are 10 PCs, we need to configure with them with 10 public IP addresses separately for each PCs manually. That was a tedious process. To overcome this, the NAT, dynamic NAT was introduced. So here in the dynamic NAT, it is suitable if the number of users are fixed. If we know the number of users, we can configure the routers with the dynamic NAT process. So the advantage is here, it does not require to configure each and every networking device with a public IP address. We need to create an IP pool. So from that pool, the public IP addresses will be configured to the networking devices by the router. So we need not assign a public IP manually to all devices. We just need to create a public IP pool in a dynamic NAT process. So if the IP address of a pool is not free, then the packet will be dropped as only a fixed number of private IP addresses can be translated into a public IP addresses. So let's say there are 100 PCs in an organization and we have created an IP pool with 100 public IP addresses. Let's say there is one more PC that has to access the internet, but since the IP pool had only 100 public IPs, the additional PC that need to get an access to internet is unable to get the access since there is no public IP that is free in the pool. So this is what the second sentence means. So it is the dynamic NAT will be suitable if the number of users are fixed. If there is any additional user, we can't access the internet and it is not suitable. The dynamic NAT will be not suitable. So this process is also a costlier as the organization has to buy public IP addresses, as many public IP addresses as there are number of devices. So let's say in the previous example, there is 100 PCs and 100 public IP addresses are required. So we need to create a public pool, IP pool that has 100 public IPs. So once again, the process is actually costlier and it is not suitable for a very large organization since there will be a waste of money. So let's get into the practicals of it and understand how the dynamic NAT process works. So in this, there is a local network and there are two routers and there is a server on the connected with the second router. So this is again on a different network. So let's say these two, the computer and a laptop, need to access this server for some services. For that, we need to first configure the routers. So let's get into the CLI mode of it and get into the configuration mode. Then select the interface. I am selecting the first interface FA0/1. Then I'll be adding the IP 172.168.1.1. And with the subnet mask, no shutdown and exit. Then I will select the second interface, that is the FA 0/0. Then I'm going to add the IP 60.0.0.1 with the subnet mask. No shutdown and exit. Then I'll select the second router, get into CLI mode, enable config T to get into the configuration mode. I'll select the first interface FA 0/0. Then IP add. I'm going to add the IP 60.0.0.2 with the subnet mask. No shutdown and exit. Then I will select the second interface FA 0/1. Then I will add the IP 92.168.1.1 with the subnet mask and no shutdown and exit. So we have done with the basic configurations. So as in the previous video, I have shown how to assign configure the server. So first we just get into the IP address configuration. I have just already configured it with the IP address 192.168.1.2 with the subnet mask and the default gateway. I have mentioned this gateway, and DNS server IP address is nothing but this particular server's IP address I have mentioned. And in the services, I have already created a website. So how to create and all other details, if you want to know, just you can refer my previous video about the static net. I have shown how to do this. So already there is a website and the DNS server services is activated in this server. Then I have not entered any routing protocol. In the config mode, I will just use the router RIP, that is the RIP protocol for routing. I will just mention the networks associated with the router 172.168.1.0. And the second network is 60.0.0.0. Then exit. Now I need to configure the router for the dynamic NAT process. So in this, as in the static NAT, we have first identified which is the NAT inside, NAT outside. So similarly, I need to confirm which is the inside network and the outside network. So I'll consider the first interface as FA0/1. And since it is our inside network, the local network, I will need to specify it as IP NAT inside. And I will select the second interface FA 0/0. And since this is my outside network through which the internet is accessed, I need to mention it as IP NAT outside. Then exit. Then I need to select the interface. Okay, just I need to create an IP pool. That is in the static NAT process. We were assigning the public IPs individually to each PCs or each networking device. So here we are not assigning anything manually. The only thing is we are just creating a pool of public IPs. So for that, I will just type in IP NAT pool. So let's give a name to the pool. So I'll just mention it as network. Just I'm giving the name as network. So IP NAT pool network. Then I'll be mentioning the public IP. So the starting range, that's I'll select it as 60.0.0.10. So remember, always the public IPs should be in the range of this interface, that is FA0/0, the outside interface. That is, so in this particular example, it is 60.0.0.0, 0.1. So 0.1 and 0.2 is already used. So excluding these two values, I have specified it as 0.60.0.0.10 until the end IP, I'll mention it as 20. Then space, I need to mention the net mask here. I'll mention it as 255, 255 0.0. Now we have created a pool and I need to give access to the router. So for this, I will be using access list. So let's say 99. So I'm using a standard access list here. I need to give a permit for it. So I'm giving permit to use this public IP pool. So it has to be used by this network, that is 192, 172, 168, 1.1. So I need to mention this address, that is this network I need to mention. Then I have to mention the wild mask update 0.0.55.255 and click on enter. So I have given the access to this network to use the public IPs, that is 60.0.0.10 to 60.0.0.20. Then I will type in IP NAT inside source list 99. The 99 is this number, and if I use 99 in the first, I need to continue with that same number. And pool, and I need to mention the pool name. So IP NAT inside source list 99 pool. Which pool? The pool is the network. Then exit. So we have created the pool and given the access to the router in order to use the public IPs which we have created in the pool. Then get into the second router. The second router also we have not mentioned the routing protocol. So let's specify the router RIP and mention the network associated. It is 60.0.0.0 and the second network is 192.168.1.0. Then exit. Okay, we have done with the configuration. So I have already configured the IP address for the PCs manually. Just I will get into the web browser mode. Then I will just enter the server's IP address. So I'm just trying to access the server here. So if I click on enter, then I'm getting the web page of the server. So similarly, you can access the server using the website name networkhome.com. So we will end up in the same web page itself. Now we can check out with the second device, that is the laptop. 192.168.1.2, the IP address of the server. So we can just see the web page is opened here. It is able to access the server. So let's check out. It has accessed the server, but this private IP was converted to public IP or not. You can check this out using the router CLI mode, get into the privilege mode, and type in show IP NAT translation. Now we can observe the first PC was 172.168.1.2. It has used the public IP from the public IP pool 60.0.0.10. So this we can see here in the public IP pool which we had created. It was ranging from 60.0.0.10 to 60.0.0.20. So first IP which we have mentioned has been assigned to the first PC. Similarly, for the second PC, 172.168.1.3, that was a laptop. The public IP which has been assigned is 60.0.0.11. That is the second IP from this pool. In the static NAT, we were assigning public IP for each and every PC individually. So here we have just created a pool of IPs. From that pool of IPs, the IPs has been assigned to the PCs for communicating outside a network. So here also we can observe the port numbers 1026, 1027, 1028 has been used. And these are all the 192.168, 1.2 is all about the server's IP. And the port numbers are 80 and 53 being used. So this is all about the dynamic NAT. That's all for the day. Thank you for watching the video.